Good morning and welcome back to the channel. We're in the train room. So, I don't really rate myself as a very good modeller. I learnt much of what I've done here off YouTube. And certainly some of it has turned out alright, and some of it hasn't turned out very well at all. So I'm going to run through the things that I think went well and some of the things that went badly, and hopefully that'll provide you with some information of what to do and what not to do. I mean, it really does look pretty good in here, and I'm enjoying playing with it, because to me it's still a bit of a toy. You know, I'm not going to be one of those that runs everything off a computer or even write out a timetable of what trains are going to run when. I just come in here and assemble a train on the track and watch it go round. Now, there were so many compromises. This is a small room and I couldn't do a square because of where this door is. So I've had to do this U-shaped thing, which means that sort of like the go and return is on the same board, which makes the board fairly wide, which means reaching into the back corners, all four of them, to do any work proved incredibly difficult. And I wanted the end to end to be as long as possible. So that meant that it had to go above the main line at both ends. So I ended up with some fairly unrealistic slopes on here. So unrealistic that one or two locomotives struggled to get up them. And I had to sell those. You didn't get to see the ones that I sold. Some of my older Graham Farish ones that simply wouldn't get up. They just span their wheels. So there's a few compromises. Take for instance, if I get a derailment in one of the tunnels, I've got to take this board off to get underneath. And because I've had to lower the board down to try and make the slopes more manageable for the locomotives, my forearm, which is quite big from playing golf, doesn't really fit in there. So I'm going to switch to the phone so I can highlight some of the things I think went well and some of the things that went poorly. So see you in a minute. Well, here we go with the end station above the tunnel. So to get into the tunnel, I've got to go through this little flap. And it looks quite large, but it isn't. It isn't even as big as my forearm. The lighting went well on the station. I'm pretty pleased with that. What I'm not pleased with is this self-adhesive back scene. It keeps coming away. I can't make it stick, and for whatever reason, when you try and push it down, it creases. It seems to be bigger than it should be. Problem on the canal is this water didn't ever really go rock hard, so my boats are slowly sinking into it. What I should have done is put a pad of wood underneath so that the boats couldn't sink. And the canal was supposed to come round here and go through those tunnels, but then there would have been no room for a road. So that line of shops should have been here. I was also looking at trying to bring a line down from this bridge to actually come alongside the station, but there just wasn't room. There wasn't room to get it all fitted in. Now the road, I've used something called ash and cinders, and it looked okay in the packet. It doesn't quite look okay once you get it on the layout. It's not quite right, but it will have to do. There's no way of changing it now. As I say, working up in these far corners proved incredibly difficult. A church. Now, I wasn't going to have a church. This is where the farm was going to be. And then up the top here was going to be a wooded hill with some more cottages. But it's turned out alright. And I put in a little pond up here because I had some water left over. So even though it wasn't what was planned, it's okay. It's worked out just fine. And I like the way the fields from the farm flow down to the church. I much prefer doing a rural scene than to doing a city scene. Now, I got a great tip about static grass. I've never used it before, but what I was told was to use longer grass than scale, so that it actually stands out. And it's got a really nice texture. It's even got a nice texture. But yes, you've got to use a longer static grass than you think you need. But for the garden areas, I used 2mm, just to make it shorter, to make it look more like my lawn. Although my lawn doesn't look like that at this time of year. But I did enjoy making the gardens. This is a Woodland Scenics rock face. It comes out white, and then you wash it with different colours. This side, it's fine, but no more than fine. You know, it's worked out okay. This one here seems to have taken the colour a lot better and looks a lot better. These are the Metcalf card kits. They do a job. They're not as good as some of the bridges you can buy off eBay or in model shops, but they work out just fine. And this red brick one, I do like that. I know they're not terribly accurate, but they look okay to me. I'm happy with those and would use them again. Another bad bit of putting up the back scene too high was I had gaps to fill in. And of course it doesn't match. Fortunately, there isn't that much of it, and I've hidden most of it as best I can. There's some more there. This rock face was done with cork. I didn't paint it or anything. It looks just fine with a bit of greenery. It works, even if the back scene doesn't. This side is bits and pieces left over from card kits. And I say I've had to try and hide that as best I can. Ready-made trees out of plastic. Now these are fine. I've used different sizes from different manufacturers and some pine trees, and they've worked out okay. These are seafoam that I made myself. The first time I've used seafoam. The only trouble is you buy a box of seafoam for £25 and you just don't know what's going to be in there. So you do get some robust trees out of it. I particularly like this one. But you also get a lot of wispy ends which aren't very good. They're not very strong either. You've only got to look at them to break them. I suppose the answer is to grow some of your own and then learn how to dry them and treat them to turn them into trees. Now I do enjoy making the gardens. I am a bit of an odd gardener myself, so to be able to make something that the weather isn't going to blow away was quite nice. It isn't going to get flattened by the wind and the rain. And of course all of these things are available on eBay. All manner of different plants and vegetables. But working in these far corners was very difficult. When I was round the attic, I only had a board that was 2 feet in depth, and it was so much easier to work on than these wide boards, because I've got to return the line on the same board and you're limited by the 180-degree bend. Veggies, yes, you can get lots of different veggies as well. Yeah, I enjoyed doing that, and I think I've done okay. Ballasting was an issue. Some of it wouldn't stick. Some of it sat above the static grass. I didn't know whether to do the ballasting first or second. I think if I was to do it again, I'd do it first. I'd also use fine grade. Of course, I ran out of my mix and I bought some iron ore. Now, it doesn't look this red in real life, but for whatever reason the camera makes it an awful lot redder. But I would use fine for end gauge, and I would use an awful lot less. The lilies, they're available on eBay. They worked out very well in a canal. Now, I wanted a canal because canals and railways go together. And for the same reason. They take the easiest bit of flat land between A and B. I like the little scene around the lock cottage. That's quite nice. But I think I could have done better. But then my skill level is quite low. Another boat that's sinking into the water, and you can't remove it. It seems to be well stuck. The main station. Now, I would have preferred the buildings on the other side, but there just wasn't space, because the canal is where the town was going to be. Though I've added extra posters, which makes it look a little better, and of course the lighting makes it a lot better, whether you've got the lights on or off. That is to say, the bedroom light on or off. But yeah, life would have been better if it had been on the other side. Now, the little end stuff that I bought off eBay, I got exceptionally lucky with the petrol station. You won't find many which have got all 3 parts. All of these are second hand off eBay, about £20 a pop. So you can do some mathematics there about how much it costs to construct a town, and why I kept it to just a village street. And you don't often get to see what's at the back. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheerio!